everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to have you here with us. My name's Michael Scanlon, and I'm here with Erin Black.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Nice to meet everybody.
So, you are watching this because you are clicking on learning all about adult allyship. And before we dive into that, I just kind of want to say a huge, huge thank you to the Raise Center, which is a center that really helps support not only parent centers with technical assistance, information on different programs, tools, resources, really highlighting expertise to really help those agencies that serve families and youth and other teams, along with really empowering individuals with disabilities and their families to really understanding their rights, their expert resources and really expert content and consultation to really live their best life possible. So again, huge thank you to Raise to making this funding and program possible.
Yeah, Ray's has come to Michael and I and tasked us with a really amazing project that the two of us, from our lived experience, being people with disabilities, being people who have experienced being young people in the system, and now both of us, me only in the past even year or two, establishing under Michael being one of my amazing allies what it means to transition from youth to adulthood, and even more so, what it means to go from being an adult to being an adult ally for young people in the system. And we're really excited about this toolkit that you all are going to embark on with us. We are excited to spend the next several months developing intentional content, developing intentional surveys and conversations and groups full of space and conversation around important topics regarding what it means to be an adult ally, what it means to be a young person in the system working with an adult that wants to support you, and what that really looks like. And we're really excited for it. I know I'm excited. And if it weren't for my adult allies, I wouldn't be sitting here chatting with everybody so confidently and really enjoying this part of my transition where I'm realizing I have a lot of responsibility to help other young people find their voice. So we're excited and just excited for you to get to know us and vice versa. We're excited to give you a resource that we hope you can really find beneficial information in and use to better the lives of young people as adult allies in the community.
Well said, Erin. And I actually didn't interrupt you out of excitement for once. So I'm so glad this recording can stay super polished in our intro. And, really, I just want to say, too, for all you watching and listening, you know, I can't overstate enough how pumped we are for this because within all of our, professional circles we, travel in, adult allyship tools and resources have been honestly consistently in the top two or three things we've been hearing about, like consistently on everything Erin just mentioned. So I think this certainly we're responding to what you're asking for us and a need. And so we're so happy you're here.
Yeah, we're excited. And I think that this is going to be a great first step in developing conversations around adult allies, which is a term I throw around on a daily basis. And I realize that sometimes takes some unpacking and realizing the layers of depth that come with being an ally for young people. So we're
Mhm.
excited to be here.
Yeah, so diving right in, Erin, I just want to like point blank ask you, what is an adult ally?
Yeah, so, I myself am 23 years old. I'll be 24 in the coming months, and I am really proud to be standing right now in the middle of this bridge where I'm looking at adult life. I'm looking at what it's like to be an adult, supporting other young people, supporting other adults. I'm also sitting only as a 23-year-old, right? So I'm sitting here from this youth lens, unsure of what the next couple years have in store for me, let alone what the rest of my life looks like. I still have that young, naive rose-colored glasses on, and I view it as a plus, right? It's a superpower of mine that I'm energized and refreshed. But I would say that's something I'm beginning to understand is what an adult ally is. And I think the only people that I can look to answer that question are my own adult allies. I think a big question we talk about a lot is why don't we call them mentors, right?
Mhm.
Why is it an adult ally versus a mentor? And I love the term adult ally for a lot of reasons, and I could be here for hours, but we'll keep it brief. I think there's something to be said about developing hierarchy among young people and adults, where young people necessarily don't feel like it's a table where there's a seat and for them and for their voice and space created for their voice to be heard. With that being said, though, I think an adult ally kind of takes on this really endearing, but also very intimate take on what it's like to be a young person, an adult having a relationship during all these life transitions. And it's it's very mutually grounding. I think being an adult ally to me, when I hear the word ally, there's this like comforting feeling to it. And I think that's exactly it. An adult ally isn't someone who just tells you what to do and what your next step in your journey is. There's someone that sits there right with you, wherever it is.
Mhm.
If you're sitting on the floor, they'll get on the floor with you and say, okay, let's talk about it. What do you think is next for you? Right? There's someone that doesn't just boss you or guide you, or say next turn right at the next stop sign. That's not it. Instead, they're just sitting in the car with you while you kind of endure life and figure things out on your own. And I think they're also someone who speaks highly and speaks about you as a young person in the system in rooms where maybe you weren't invited, right? Maybe there hasn't been space made for young people in that room. And that's what an adult ally is. An adult ally is someone saying, whether it's one youth in mind or all the youth that they've ever worked with, saying, there is a place for you here and I will build it. As an adult, I will ensure it happens. So I could go on forever. I think about the difference, between what makes someone just a mentor in your life or someone that's endearing in some way. But I think an adult ally takes on a new set of empathy, saying, I was once a young person. I know how you feel. Let's do this together.
Mhm. Yeah, as you were talking, Erin, so I'm 36, so I'm like fully in as like immature and young on the inside as I am, and I can feel like I'm 14 or like 22 some days, or I'll match you, be 23, Erin,
Yeah.
but no, but like it really is, I think, I see an adult ally as someone who really does support, advocate for young people. And I say that from the mindset of doing things with, not for, as you said, Erin. Like
I love that.
it's not about, again, as you said, it's not bossing around, it's not telling, it's more just almost this like holding up a mirror and like, hey, like what do you see right now? It's giving young people space to like figure things out, almost a, whether you want to call it a sounding board, what have you, and even like going back to like language, right? Like even if you do want to think about it as like a mentor, like I'm personally okay with that. There's no adult ally police out here. Like
Yeah.
I am not about telling anyone who's going to be like learning, right? Like any language, but I really do think I see allies, adult allies as someone who you feel completely comfortable with going to, whether it's a personal concern or a celebration or a joy. Maybe you want to share in the joy with someone who has supported you, or just someone
Yeah.
you want to talk to, like informally have coffee with, or like learn from. So I think there's such a richness that adult allies can have with their young people. And I think no relationship is the same. I think we're going to learn more about that as
Yes.
we
Oh
do
my
our work.
gosh.
And I think that's something rude too, is my own style of support and just who I am as a human, right? That's so different from other allies I work with and I see. And so that's kind of the cool thing, is we're all here really to tell you, when we're coming to the table together with young people, it's being who you are to bring out the best in others and helping to see young people beyond the now, beyond what they may be going through or experiencing, and helping to break past barriers.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, Michael. I think there's something to be said too about being not just an adult ally, but being an impactful, strong, good, solid adult ally. And I have a lot of those in my life. It is such a blessing and such a strength for me. But I think when we get into asking ourselves what makes a good adult ally, we've started to unravel some of these. And like you're saying, this will take us weeks to fully wrap around, because there's a lot of elements to it. It's an onion that just keeps being peeled. But I will say that I think you touched on one of the most important parts, which an adult ally is relational, right? I think, oftentimes forget about the power of authentic, meaningful communication and authentic relationships in our system. It's easy to. It's easy to adhere to the check boxes and to the, okay, well, we have a young person coming to this, so we're doing okay. Or, right? Being an adult ally means taking a stance on this youth movement, right? It means no matter what, understanding that young people's voice deserves to be heard. And I think for me, some of my most impactful, profound adult ally moments and adult allies in my life came from an adult ally knowing I was probably going to not make the right choice and make and fail, right? We don't need to, we all hate that word, right? We hate to talk about failure, but it's essential. And some of my most powerful moments with adult allies was them watching me fail. And that wasn't them saying, "Oh, I told you so," or "Ooh, I knew that was going to happen." It was them watching me uncover parts about my transition journey that they saw in themselves probably at some point. And, I know we talk sometimes in the disability community about the dignity of risk, right? And that's something I think a good adult ally does. They make space for the young person to figure it out. And that sometimes means advocating in rooms where young people aren't necessarily preferred or prioritized. And, it shows, it transforms lives. Young people need investing in. They really do. They need to be invested. Um, and I think it's a beautiful process, especially when done right, and especially when done in a really authentic relationship building kind of way.
One thing I want to add on, Erin, and you said this so beautifully, is I think one of my takeaways hearing from you is it really is an ally needs to be okay with discomfort. That like
Mhm.
it's setting aside your own beliefs or things you would have done if you were in that young person's shoes. And it really is like accepting what your young people are telling you. Like and that it really is like you said, it's allowing that person to make their own choices, own actions, beliefs, whatever they say, do, and then helping them to, just hold space for them. And if that could even be as simple as how did you think that went? Or like, what was that like for you? Like just it's like kind of like really it almost sounds like too simple, Erin, but it's
You're right.
surprising how many young people don't get that. Like
Yeah,
how like those key moments, because I certainly remember moments when I was a young person where I was so grateful I had a couple of those moments where like I had a trusted adult who was like, Michael, what did you think about that? Or like, or just even just giving me like honest praise or just like, hey, that must have been really like uncomfortable for you, but like
right.
I'm
Acknowledging
I'm
it.
there for
Yeah.
you and like glad you did it your way.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that a good adult ally is an adult ally that listens, that makes space in those moments when, if anything, it is uncomfortable, right? We never said transitioning, whether it's from school age to adulthood, whether it's from one niche season of life to the next that we each experience independently. We never said it would be some, black and white, read this book, ABC 1, 2, 3 situation. And that requires strong people that have gone through it as well, that is life changing. And I think that that's what we're going to uncover is, not only what is an adult ally and how to be that with tangible things and tangible resources to help you accomplish that from the perspective of a young person that is currently going through it. And my adult ally, who, Michael, you are a textbook example of what a good adult ally is. And I think that brings us to the why we're doing it, right? I think, unfortunately, won't be able to continue moving forward if we don't understand the importance of this role in the system, in our individual lives, in the future of advocacy and the future of youth engagement and storytelling and, identity. I think the why is that young people will not ever learn if they're not ever given the right people to teach them, right? And that sounds way more classroomy than I intended to. I mean, the world being this exposure and this educational moment. And I think that that is where an adult ally comes in. An adult ally comes in and says, let's do it. Let's take it. You lead the way. That's the key thing too. Youth voice always. Youth voice at the center. An adult ally sits back and says, I'm not going to guide that. I'm not going to steer this ship, but I certainly am going to invest in it, and be here when you ask for it. And yeah, I think, you know, it's a lot more layered to that, but I think that's exactly why we're doing this. That's why this toolkit matters.
Mhm, mhm. And before we hit the record button, Erin and I were laughing because we've known each other for quite a while now through all of our collaborative work, and we could easily make anything when we get on a Zoom recording last for like 4 hours. We won't do that to you all. So I know we could keep going and going and going, but I will kind of jump into and ask you, Erin. So on the opposite end, what would be maybe something, a key takeaway of like, oh, maybe like what wouldn't make a good adult ally?
Yeah, like the do's and the don'ts. And as much as the don'ts we don't like to highlight, they are important. And I think that, vice versa to what we're already talking about things that make an adult ally really strong and really awesome, and really successful, is that a bad, we'll call it a bad adult ally, whatever you want to make the technical term here. To be honest, I don't know if there's such a thing as a bad adult ally. I think at that point there's a good adult ally, and then there's someone who's not an adult ally at all, because that those exist too. I think at that rate you're just being an adult. And you're not striving to form any sort of allyship with young people. But I think a lot of that, and I think the worst possible thing you can do, is not create or welcome innovation and opportunities for young people. To me, that is not an adult ally, right? An adult ally seeks the discomfort, seeks the innovative, weird outside the box tactics that might need to come in order to best engage all people, right? To be universal for everyone, including young people. A bad adult ally would fear that and would run from that. And that's happening, to be completely frank, in our system, right? We love check boxes, but at the end of the day, that is not, being an adult ally is not a checkbox. And I might add too, there is no physical list that we can provide you that says if you do all these things, you're a good adult ally. That's not what we're here for. And I think to be a good adult ally, you have to want to be an ally in someone's life. And you have to understand the importance of the young person you're working with, not to underestimate them, and to also see the power that's in their voice, even if they need some guidance on projecting it, right? Or projecting it properly.
Mhm.
But the worst kind of adult ally to be is to not be an adult ally at all.
Yeah. No, I'm taking a moment, Erin. I loved what you said, and I think if I can add to that, I think for anyone who like really wants like a specific, but Erin, but Michael, can you give me one? I'm like, okay, well, off the top of my head, I also want to say I actually visually picture Erin when you were talking, like someone pulling up the ladder behind them, like, well, like I got mine, like forget y'all, like we're just
Yep.
like, taking away opportunity or funding
Yes,
or
that's a huge thing.
freedom or what have you, or creativity. Like, so that's what I really took from you, Erin. But I think for
I
me
love
too,
that.
I can add is I mean, it's really like is a no-brainer, but someone who cannot be honest, and I think that's where, like young people are so intuitive, they're gonna tell when you're lying or faking or half-hearting. So like honestly, if you can at least just be honest, if you're having a bad day, tell them, or if you can't be
Yep.
available for something, tell them. It's incredible how far an honest text, email, phone call, in-person conversation can go in just like saying, hey, whatever's going on, just the open communication, right? And it's so funny, Erin, as we're talking about all these things, these are pretty universal things we're talking about. Not that we won't get into really specific things later on with you all, but these are like just it's kind of
Best
interesting as
practice. Yeah.
like best practice on being a human, you know?
You would think. Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think you're right. I think the intention says a lot, and I appreciate what you said about making sure not to dismantle or take away opportunities from young people, but to instead go out of your way to build them, because that's what it takes. That's crucial
Mhm,
to being a good adult ally.
mhm.
Yeah.
So, Erin, I'd love to ask you, maybe, are you comfortable sharing maybe a moment that an adult ally like personally had? You touched on that earlier, but like, just maybe like something really specific and vivid, for our
Yeah.
listeners.
I am very grateful. I've had several adult allies that have made transformative steps in my life and have really guided me towards successful directions and sometimes not successful directions. And I love those moments too. I think they've taught me a lot. One of my first big hands-on experiences working in post-secondary transition was working on a fantastic project under Dr. Joan Kester. Joan Kester is fantastic. The founder and director of Transition Discoveries. But you know, thinking about what Dr. Kester was able to do for me, she gave me opportunities that were being presented to her that could have easily fulfilled her mission and kept her voice going and kept her legacy going. But instead, she said, I'm going to have you step up and do these difficult, hard, fulfilling moments, get to travel, get to go meet individuals. And she made space that sometimes probably took away space from the things that she was working on doing just to ensure I was building blocks for my career, for my success, and for my journey in advocacy, for building blocks for other people, right? And that was profound for me. I had never seen an adult, especially in such a professional setting, be so sacrificial and say, I am here to watch you succeed. That was the main goal at that point in her career, was investing in me. And that feels intentional and it feels special. And it energized me in a way to say, wow, like I want to be that for somebody eventually, advice and honesty and sometimes hard conversations came with that. I'm traveling the world. I wish I'm ready to go international, traveling the country. If anyone, wants to take me to Bora Bora, let me know. But I'm traveling the country, meeting phenomenal speakers and advocates and educators. And that was all because somebody saw something in me, at the ripe age of 21, graduating college, unsure of the mistakes and uncertainties I had. And that was profound. And it was only the beginning for me. Now I feel like I'm even a couple years in, such a strong, um, I'm a strong employee and a strong team member. And that's because of many, many people, but one of my adult allies saying yes, taking a chance on me, which is really cool.
Mm, that's incredible. I knew you would bring up Joan. As soon as I'm like, when I after I asked that, I'm like, I bet she's gonna bring up Joan, and I'm so glad
And
she
you
did.
were right.
Yep.
How about you, Michael? Has there been I think sometimes we do forget to talk about that. Adult allies need adult allies. And everyone at some point in their life had some adult step in for them. And I know for you, you shared with me some of your personal stories about an adult ally profoundly shaping you. And I'd love to hear, someone that comes to your mind and vice versa. Has there been a time where being an adult ally has really been profound for you or taught you something? And, maybe we save all those conversations and experiences as we uncover this toolkit, but I really would love to hear for you, who has paved your way?
Sure. So I will answer us a couple different ways. So I think I'll first respond to what you said, Erin, on yes, absolutely, adult allies need their own allies. I was literally like those of you who know me, if I've got your number, I will be sending you memes, probably dance moms, GIFs, memes. I'll ask you how you're doing, or I'll say like, what's up, or how is this, or how is that, or like have you seen the show? I'm like loving it. Like just like those fun little things that I don't know, just I just love like checking in on people. But I think, I've also was just texting a colleague who's an ally who really stuck his neck out to like really give me great opportunities. I like texting him, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's just like we've, and can to have those, like you said, like hard conversations or just like supportive human to human chats, and I think that's kind of what we're going to uncover, right? It really can be the celebratory, like, OMG, you did it, I'm so happy, or like super fun, to like those moments that like maybe what you said could change someone's life. Like if you picking up the phone or like in person or email, like your encouragement or your like wisdom, not that you're
Yeah,
imposing it on someone, you're just sharing from your mind, from your heart, from what have you, on like just being there with like no expectations in the moment. So I think
right.
I'm acknowledging that yes, we all need someone, and no one can do or should do life alone. And so I think it's really this reciprocity, we're all here for each other. And I think with everything going on in the world, this is such a very timely project we're working on, Erin. But
Yeah.
specific going back to what you were asking me, yes, I mean, I literally one of my aunts, I'm had my brain injury at 4 years old, and having that early childhood experience of, with my accident, just the with the world just seeming so scary and needing the support I needed, there were so many words at one point spoken over me of like what I couldn't do. And obviously by that point, I was like literally too young to remember a lot of it. But like in talking to her, she'd remind me, she's like, Michael, like, I just want you to know, like, when those doctors would be like, oh, he'll never do this again, or like, he can't do that. She literally went full on mama bear and like, no, 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 no,
I
he's
love
gonna
that.
do it. Like, I'm gonna be there. He's gonna do it. And just like, so it's just like, I'm like almost in tears, like rehearing it, because like how powerful that, like, I was a very young child then. And,
Right.
the system at large literally already painted a picture of like, Michael's gonna like not do much
What
or
can't Michael
anything or
do,
can't
right?
do it.
What
Like I
Michael won't.
literally in a past presentation found my old medical records like inches thick of like all my appointments. And it was like so disheartening to like
Right.
read those words of like, oh, like, yeah, what can I do? Or like my limitations. So I think that moment,
I love
just
that.
will always be live in my heart. But I think, as an adult in the working world and transitioning, Karen and Amy, Karen, who you are if you watch this, was a supervisor for me, and who honestly, we can all laugh here. I think we all have like heard about like managers from demonic places. I'll use that phrase instead. We've all had maybe demonic managers, or like managers that were, or people above us who were not supportive or kind. I'll say it that way. And Karen was such a breath of fresh air, where like she was literally someone who was so safe, who set the stage, who was like, Michael, I'm here to help you succeed, and like, well, whatever you need. And it was a consistent, like, every day. It wasn't just like
Yeah.
she said it and then like left me to the wolves, and like just it was a very
It's
meaningful, like,
investing. It really
everyday
is.
investment. And
Yeah.
that's the perfect word. So, and
Yeah.
then Amy, being she is a director of a department, and who just really gave me funding for a position, and saw potential in me. And so
Love that.
um just I guess what we're sharing with our listeners here, Erin, is those impactful moments. Each person have their own resources, their own gifts, their own skill sets they personally use to move someone forward and make their life better and brighter. And that's what we were
Yep.
all about for you today.
I
And
love that. I love that. I feel like these stories and other people's stories regarding being invested in and then choosing to take that invest in someone else is profound, it's powerful, it's important, and it needs to be shared in a way that can change the system for the better, including teaching those who maybe don't consider themselves to be an adult ally how to do so, and how to do so in an impactful, profound way. And that's why we're here. this work is so important. We know it's important. We're going to get into why we feel it's so important. We can't wait to highlight other young people's stories. We can't wait to highlight other powerful adult allies changing the system, let alone the world around them. And we're excited for you all to embark on this journey with us and, really find value and meaning in this toolkit that we're creating. We look forward to keeping this going. This is just the beginning, and we hope that you choose to not only keep investing in us, as we create this, but also utilize this resource for what it will be. We're excited that this is just the beginning.
So well said, Erin. This is literally just the beginning, and thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, we'll see you all soon.